make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironsides here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter and I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment that made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years I watched my country change. Watched this work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Monday. I think it's, hold on. I think it chose the wrong camera again. Yeah. Hold on, guys. Let's try that. That's better. Okay. I don't need any help to be ugly. Okay. That's not something I need help with. Anyway, welcome to the show. This is the Rabbit Hole. This is my Monday show. The Bunny is Thinking, and well, there was some news that just came out recently about a book series that's being adapted at Netflix by a certain lady director who. Basically, when I heard that she was the one that was going to adapt it, I knew it was going to be a shit show. Greta Gerwig is her name. And say she did the Lady Bird, which is chick stuff. Barbie, which is chick stuff. And so she's got like one speed. And they want her to adapt Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia. So I have very little hope, I have to admit. Now, there was a movie series that came out by Walden Media that was actually pretty good. It's actually very, very good. You know, I mean, it made the Prince Caspian more enjoyable, which is you know, uh, they had to like definitely rearrange some things. That's probably the one of the weaker books, I would have to say. Um, Hey, thank you, man. Yep, it's a dye job, but it's my beard, and just colors might not be that natural. Mr. Good Stuff, I like the Chronic. Yes, we know you like the Chronic. Cows of Narnia. I assume that's a type of weed, maybe. I don't know. I'm not up on my weed terminology, so just gonna make an educated guess with that. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Jason Winkler. Welcome to the show. Welcome in. Anyway, so Narnia. It's kind of like I guess kind of like the little brother of Lord of the Rings. At least they get kind of paired up a little bit, even though they're entirely two different concepts. They have some overlap, there are certain things that kind of resonate. The dwarves are both in Lord of the Rings, and they're in the Narnia series, but there's a lot of stuff that is very unique to Narnia. But the reason why they have such, like, the DNA is similar is because J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis both were part of a group called the Inklings, which was a literary group at Cambridge around about the time they were there. And so they would tell each other stories. The whole entire thing was just to tell each other stories. And several other authors came out of there, but the only two really of note, I guess, for Americans at least, is J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, who basically became friends. And it's really unique. There is some shared DNA there because they would share the stories, and then they would kind of like bandy about maybe possible changes, or do some brainstorming, and so there's a possibility that some J.R.R. Tolkien found its way into Narnia. Of course, again, some of Narnia may have found its way into Lord of the Rings. So it's quite possible that if you see any kind of like shared vibe there, they're very, very much, there is a direct etymology that's possible. Anyway, now Narnia is actually 7 books. They're way shorter length than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But they basically follow an interesting loose timeline, in that time passes differently in Narnia as it does our world. It passes faster. So things can happen like hundreds of years on in Narnia from when something happened in our world last year, and some of the same characters will go back to Narnia, and it's like hundreds of years have passed or something. So that part of the series takes a little getting used to, because you're basically resetting every time, almost every time you go back. I mean, there are some parallel characters that do carry over, especially Prince Caspian, Dawn Treader, and Silverchair. They're sometimes called the Caspian Trio because they all three have Prince Caspian in them. Even though the Silverchair, Prince Caspian, is very much, aged out of being a direct part of the story, but it's still interesting. But what happens is also the main characters, they can only go to Narnia 3 times, or basically beneath a certain age, because once they get to a certain age, they're no longer eligible for Narnia. So in other words, they can't go back. They can't find their way back. Which is C.S. Lewis's way of saying that once you reach a certain part of adulthood, you can no longer dream like a child, and so you can't find your way back to the 100-acre woods or Neverland, or through the Looking Glass. At a certain point, you become too adult to dream to the extent that it takes to visit Oz or wherever. And so basically, it's an interesting kind of like unique feature of Narnia in that it's very clearly, demarcated for younger. And so there's really no, I mean, there's some pretty adult stuff in Narnia, but nothing that's going to scar a child for life. Being a child when I read them, I can confirm that, as it comes to children's literature that I grew up with, Narnia was actually pretty tame, to be honest. Of course, I read all sorts of stuff that probably wasn't children's literature, but I read it anyway, which might explains some idiosyncrasies I have that are unfortunate. But anyway, I won't go into that. But anyway, so when it comes to Narnia, though, I have a very special connection. And so I will just say that Miss Gerwig getting involved was not my favorite news. I have told more than one person that this one's going to hurt when this one comes out and pretty much gets violated in the way we can pretty much guarantee it's going to get violated. It's going to hurt. Some people, when Rings of Power came out, they're big Tolkien fans, and so that hurt them pretty bad. But this is Narnia's kind of like that for me. Anyway, but unless you think I'm being exaggeration, that I'm like engaging in exaggeration here, the IMAX CEO claims that Greta Gerwig's Narnia would change the world and become a cultural event. I've seen this article several places. I think Clownfish TV read a copy or different version of it this morning. But lest you think I am being hyperbolic, let me read. IMAX staged its inaugural Investors Day in New York, where CEO Rich Gelfond unveiled new information about Netflix and Greta Gerwig's upcoming adaptation of The Magician's Nephew, one of the 7 books. Chronologically, it's supposed to be the first book, but it was actually, I think it was published about 6th, I think. But anyway, so most surprisingly, Gelfond explained that Gerwig is steering Narnia before a modern, guitar-driven vibe, pointing to bands like Pink Floyd and The Doors as reference points for the film's overall sound. The score is being handled by Mark Ronson, fresh from his work on Barbie. Barbie being Greta Gerwig's big triumph, which got her the Narnia gig. This direction parallels what producer Amy Pascal started in 2024 when she said the project was rooted in the spirit of rock and roll. Yeah. Okay. He said, this is a real blockbuster movie that's being made for IMAX and Netflix. And I guess I do have to talk a little about why I'm so excited about it. This is not your mother's or your grandmother's Narnia. Not your mother's or your grandmother's Narnia. Females. Not sons, not grandfathers. They said mothers and grandmothers. So you can already see that it's going to be targeted. Okay, so the music in it's unbelievably contemporary music. Of course, what IMAX fans like. I'm not going to say specifically, but things like Pink Floyd and The Doors. You know what kind of music which people go to see in IMAX. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on a second. Hey, Jitu Gaming. That's a mouthful. Hey, old brew, do you remember me? I can't say that I do, but I have a mind like Swiss cheese. You'll have to forgive me. Okay. Despite pushback from many exhibitors, Gelfand is very confident in what he's seen so far, saying Gerwig's film and IMAX is really going to change the world and create a cultural event. So this one, where my team has to hold me back, because I think, as I said before, that it's really going to change the world. And I know that sounds like a lot of hyperbole, but Greta is making this movie for IMAX and then fully understands that when word gets out about what this movie is, it's going to create a cultural event. What I'm wondering is how it can change the world and become a cultural event if there's only about 350 IMAX screens in the U.S., some of which won't show Gerwig's film, given that certain theater chains are boycotting it. Back in August, cameras started rolling on Gerwig's Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. With lavish post-war 1950s sets and crowds of extras filling the streets of London, this is notably different from the Victorian London setting of C.S. Lewis's novel. Instead, it appears Gerwig has shifted the story to mid-20th century. The Magician's Nephew stars Diggory Kirk and Polly Plummer, with Emma McMackey and Daniel Craig playing Uncle Andrew, Carey Mulligan in negotiations for an undisclosed role, and Meryl Streep expected to voice Aslan. Netflix, of course, has yet to officially confirm any of these castings. If Netflix involved, there's going to be some race swapping, certainly. So Gerwig is coming off the trifecta of Lady Bird, Little Women, and Barbie. Purists be damned. There was never much chance this would be a straightforward adaptation of C.S. Lewis's source material. Gerwig just doesn't roll like that. The Magician's Nephew will screen in IMAX theaters with a 28-day IMAX only release window in November 2026. Does it sound like I'm being hyperbolic, or does it sound like a modern audience's shit show? I'm going to say the latter, because the modern music, 1950s setting, and you're playing music, the Doors and the Pink Floyd, really active in the late 60s, early 70s. So you're taking 60s and 70s music, you're setting it way forward in 1950s, and you're using 60s and 70s music. And the gender stuff has already started, because she said this is not your grandmother or your mother or grandmother's Narnia. So, howdy, Bunny, Kaltenberg. Hey, good to see you. Welcome. Good to see you. So, that's the elephant in the room as to why Narnia is wrong atmosphere. Hey, man, good to see you. Not sure what you mean by wrong atmosphere, but welcome anyway. Um, but basically, there's something that happens when you hear about one of these showrunners taking over a project, and because of their track record, they don't have the competence to pull this off, or they're an activist. They're too much of an activist to pull it off, or there's somebody who probably hates the IP openly, and it's just okay. 70s music set in 50s, wrong atmosphere. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure what you meant, but yeah. But what this sounds like is a hipster version of Narnia. That's what it sounds like. So somebody trying to make Narnia cool. But cool for who? That is the question. Why do you have to make it cool for anybody? We see this over and over again where this is going to be for a modern audience. Who is your modern audience? They've never showed up. This modern audience that you're twisting and corrupting and destroying all of these wonderful IPs to please has never showed up in sufficient amount numbers to justify destroying for all time intellectual properties that could have made bank for you for decades. And this mistake keeps being repeated over and over and over. Okay, what about Lady Bird, Little Women, or Barbie? The Barbie movie made you think that this was the woman to adapt Narnia. I mean, what in that track record made you think, oh, I'm sure she'll do a great job on C.S. Lewis? The lady has openly stated that she is an atheist. Narnia has evangelical in its DNA. Aslan is very much a stand-in for a certain individual that a very large religion is based upon. And it's that particular religion is one that Miss Gerwig has openly despised. So there's no way she is going to interpret it properly. Anyway, so not a lot of faith that this adaptation is going to be good. Now, why does it matter? Every time we pitch a fit, every time we say that this is going to be a disaster and we hate this is happening, they're always like, well, this is a fictional universe. Why do you care? And it irritates me when they do that. I said this last week. Why do I care? It's because when I was a kid and I was learning to dream, going through the wardrobe into Narnia and meeting Aslan with the Pevensey kids was part of what allowed me to dream as a child. It's in my DNA. It's in my source code. So, yes, it's personal that some elitist female liberal with no love for the source material is going to adapt it into the ground. Yes, it matters. Why? Why does it matter to me? I've said on this channel before that my parents were killed in a car accident, along with my brother, who was my best friend, Mr. Cottentop himself, Jonathan, And my sister was, all intents and purposes, rebooted to relearning everything. And my oldest brother has a childhood he can't remember, and it changed him irrevocably into somebody who I'm just now starting to like know again in our both of us in our 50s. But anyway, the person who took up the slack, the person who picked up the ball and ran with it, took on all these damaged kids, was a lady with a weak heart who was my mother's younger sister. Her name was Gertrude. And Gertrude, hey there, good to see you. But Gertrude loved to read. And she thought I watched too much television, so she cut me back to 1 hour of cartoons on Saturday. So I went from watching television every day, it basically raised me, to 1 hour cartoons on Saturday. And this was so she could basically teach me to read, read more. And so she gave me books. Smart woman. Well, it didn't feel like it at the time. There were some things she did dietary wise that still bother me today. Namely, there's foods I can't eat because she forced me to eat them. But she was a backseat driver to my mother, and she always thought that she could raise us better because she didn't have kids of her own. So when she got us, she basically all those ideas she had in her head, and one of them in particular was to wean us off of television and get us reading. And so that first summer I read Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, read an adventure series set in Lewis and Clark expedition. I started writing, which I'm still doing today. So a lot of what I am today came from that. But this is where Narnia comes in. And I said she had a weak heart. Well, 4 years later, the parents were killed in 82 and in 1986. Right around the Challenger accident. The last thing I remember watching with her was the Challenger coverage on television. But this was been right after the Challenger accident. She went into the hospital and didn't come back out. I wasn't told that she was that bad off. So my uncle, who was just trying to, keep me occupied, unlocked the television. And I was basically binging like a crack addict. And she calls, and I didn't know she was on her deathbed, and that she'd already passed away, or she already died once and was revived. And so I basically burned through a conversation with her and said my goodbyes, not knowing that she was saying goodbye to me. And then I found out that I didn't find out 2 years later that she was that bad off, to be honest. My stepsister, or my sister-in-law, told me finally. That's the first. And she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Because I went white as a sheet. But nobody told me. Guess they thought I couldn't handle it because the 4 years earlier. And but suddenly I'm burying her too. And I started looking around for something to occupy me. And I found my books that my brother had bought. My brother had the series before me. And he had them in his room. And so when I wanted to read the real cool stuff, he had a lot of Stephen King books, and so I would sneak into his room and steal stuff to read. And I found Lion Witch in the wardrobe. And I went through the wardrobe to Narnia, met Mr. Tumnus, and it helped me through that summer because after I read that, I've read Prince Caspian, I read The Dawn Treader, I read Silver Chair, right in a row. I read The Boy and His Horse, The Final Battle, and many years later, I read The Magician's Nephew, but I didn't read that one during that summer. And so when I hear that this idiot is going to shove in Pink Floyd indoors and modernize it, whatever, to the 50s, it's personal. And it does steam my vegetables quite a bit. It annoys me to no end. And I guess it's my turn. You know, the Trekkies, they've watched their desecration, and the Star Wars, they watched their desecration. The fans of Marvel Comics have been watching their desecration for years. DC also, as comics were completely taken over. Tabletop gaming is dealing with their desecration right now as we speak. Gaming, they've had to deal with theirs for about a decade now. And it was only a matter, and Doctor Who, let's not even talk about Doctor Who, right into the ground. I mean, 2017, when Peter Capaldi gave up the role, that's the last Doctor Who. I don't know what's been happening since, but a lot of people say RIP Doctor Who 2017, but which I'm one of those. But it's my turn, I guess. It's all fans of Narnia. It's your turn to have something drugged through the mud and adapted, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, this one's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. But you know, all IPs, all fandoms are getting their turn. It looks like this is our turn. But anyway, so about the series itself. Once again, you got The Magician's Nephew, The Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Then you've got the Silver Chair, The Boy and His Horse. Well, Magician's Nephew is kind of like after Boy and His Horse is when it was published, but Magician's Nephew chronologically supposed to be the first one. But then The Final Battle is number 7. So out of all those, which ones are my favorites and which are the best? And because all the stories kind of build upon one another, it's kind of hard to say that one book is better than the other. But there are some more enjoyable books than others. Some people like A Boy and His Horse, but I don't really consider the Narnia story. It doesn't feel like Narnia, and it's set in a different world, a different land. And the only part of Narnia that's in that book is the talking horse, who's a talking animal, which are indigenous to Narnia. And I just never really have enjoyed that story as a Narnia story. And the final battle is a lot of people consider it the most problematic because it has this weird twist towards the end of it, and I won't spoil it for you, but one of the characters kind of does a heel turn out of nowhere, and it's left a taste in a lot of people's bad taste in a lot of people's mouths for since it was published. Um, it has some good points in it, but the final battle is not a book that I don't know anybody that think that's their favorite book, or that goes back and reads that for enjoyment. Then I would say that the next one down is probably The Magician's Nephew. Magician's Nephew is basically a retelling of the origin stories for Narnia. And it is kind of cool that there's certain things like the lamppost that are finally explained. Where the White Queen came from is explained. And there's some cool things in it, some like Easter eggs in it, but it reads almost like C.S. Lewis is like saying, okay, I see all these questions people are asking. Let me just stick it all in one book. There you go. Okay, now we can continue. But I don't know anybody that says Magician's Nephew is their favorite book. The fact that Miss Gerwig is adapting that one immediately tells me that she's probably gonna cut and just screw this up. I mean, I don't see that book as being something enjoyable to as an adaptation. But some people like The Magician's Nephew. Some people really enjoy it. I am not really one of them. But it's not one that I pick up automatically. It just it kind of the most of the time C.S. Lewis has good characters. That book, the characterization kind of takes a back seat to the narrative or the world building, literally the world building, because he's basically building Narnia in that book. And so for me, it's not the most enjoyable. Now, and I'm probably in a minority in that because, there's a lot of people that like Magician's Nephew. Now, next one being, and we're counting up to my top books. Next one being Prince Caspian. Now, Prince Caspian was a book immediately after Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, and so it had a big, like, shoes to carry, or shoes to fill. And it just, the time jump, it kind of like damaged the story in a way because there's so much that had to be explained through flashback. And so the whole entire book is like a flashback. And it's like, oh, what happened to Care Paraval? It's like an abandoned wreck. Where are all the talking animals, the Pevensey kids are just looking around going, what happened to our world? We went from, on the thrones at Care Paraval, and now we're back in Narnia, and there's nobody to greet us, And so explaining that, and then, of course, it has the battle at the end. And it just, it's not my favorite, and I don't know anybody that says it's their favorite. But I mean, it's better than a lot of books. But it really got hurt. That the decision to make the time jump so massive really damaged that book, I think. But next one for me would probably be Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and that is for because of Reepicheep. Reepicheep is just badass. Love that character. Imagine a mouse who thinks he's a knight and will not take no for an answer, and basically dives into danger all the time, writing checks that his little mouse butt can't cash, and somehow winding up coming out on top. And so after a while, it's kind of like, well, maybe he is as badass as he thinks he is. Can't argue with results, right? But I think he's one of Aslan's favorite creatures, and I think Aslan kind of like protects him more often than not. And Voyage of the Dawn Trader did a lot of world building. He went and visited a lot of fascinating parts of the Narnia realm. Kind of get a better view of what the realm looks like. And it basically, the Voyage of the Dawn Trader is kind of like moves away from the first two books, and it's more of an adventure story. It's more of a quest story, and so for that, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. And so Voyage of the Dawn Trader definitely got a boost from being the first book to zig, do a different direction. I do like the Dawn Trader. The movie was definitely good. I really enjoyed the movie. Now that leaves two: Lion Witch in the Wardrobe and the Silver Chair. Now for me, I have to say Lion Witch in the Wardrobe is number 2. And it's like, wait a second. That's the first book written. It's the book that's most adapted. It's got all the iconic moments in it. The most iconic moments in Narnia are mostly in that book. And so why is it number 2 in your order condescending? Well, the reason why is because I just like Silver Chair a little bit more. Mainly because I think the Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, it just, while it's an incredible book and still better than most books out there, Silver Chair just made me, this has a few more elements in it that I enjoyed more. Okay. Jill Poole, one of the characters, Eustace Crumb, comes back from the Voyage of the Dawn Trader, a Pevensey, the cousin to the Pevenseys. Started out a little brat and wound up being a really cool guy. But his new companion was a really great addition to Narnia. Puddleglum is probably the reason why Silver Chair nudges out the Lion Witch in a Wardrobe for me. And Puddleglum he's a marsh wiggle, and he's fascinating in that he's pessimistic but honorable. So he thinks it's all going to go to crap. He's very sure it's going to go to crap, but he will back you all the way to the wall. And that's that dichotomy, that weird kind of push and pull. So he might be the most negative guy in your party, and he might be the one that's the first to come up with everything that can go wrong. But when the chips are down and it's all hitting the fan, Puddleglum is going to be the one that's got your back. Because while he thinks it's hopeless and while he thinks it's all crap, going to crap, Puddleglum is going to fulfill his duty to you as your friend, as your companion. And that mix of pessimism with honorable is really makes Puddleglum one of the most unique characters in all of fiction. very like no other. And I'm going to play a clip. Tom Baker portrayed him in the television version of the Narnia Chronicles. I'm going to play that a little bit. But so let me. This is probably the part of the. This is probably the part of the show that I'm gonna get struck. Just be advised. Let me put my stream up. So, all right. Okay, let me put my stream up so I can see when it goes, if it goes down or not. Forgive me for, hold on a second. Here we go. All right. Go. Okay, so I just I want to play some of these clips, and I know it's going to probably get me struck, but stick with me. We'll get through this. If you're on X, you won't have any interruptions, or Rumble, you won't have any interruptions. But those who are with me right now on YouTube, there's a very good chance that I'm going to blink out. Be advised, it's only like 2 minutes strike, and I'll be right back. Just hang out until we get there. But anyway, so this is the moment that a lot of people, you know, it's in my mind's eye. This is a moment that when I saw it in the movie, I was like, that's exactly what I saw in my head. Exactly. So check this out. That little girl couldn't be more Lucy Pevensey if she tried. I mean, she was perfect. Talk about perfect casting. She was perfect casting. But yeah, that moment where Lucy hides in the wardrobe and just, you know, starts backing into the wardrobe and she doesn't find a wall. It's just amazing. It's the reason why I chose this image for my thumbnail. Now that's pretty much Eustace at the door there, and Aslan didn't ever stick his head through, but that image of the wardrobe going on forever, back right into Narnia. It's just a really cool, visual for me. Now, trying to debate here. Okay, I'm going to take the chance. I've got to play this one. Let me set it for you. So Aslan shows up at the stone table. The Lucy and Susan are hiding, watching. He didn't want them to come, but they kind of comforted him because he seemed like he was really heavy burdened. It was pretty much his Gethsemane moment. And then he went up on the stone table, and all these nasty little creatures who he usually would have destroyed with a swat of his paw shaved him. Put restraints on him, and the White Queen killed him. And so then they all left to go ransack Narnia because Aslan's dead. And then this happens.
We should go. So cold. Susan! It's Aslan. What have they done? But we saw the knife. The witch.
If the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice.
Still gets me. Now, obviously, he's a Christian allegory. He's obviously a type of Christ. C.S. Lewis used the story of the crucifixion for this scene, but still gets me. Which is why having an atheist using a female voice to be Aslan, handling that particular scene, I just don't think it's going to. Anyway, there's this other favorite scene from Voyage of the Dawn Treader. They did a real good job in the movie, which is very underrated. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the third Narnia movie, didn't get a lot of publicity, and it was kind of buried a little bit, and it didn't get the ticket sales, which kind of killed the series going forward. But it actually is the better movie than Prince Caspian, which Prince Caspian movie is better than. But the Voyage of the Dawn Treader movie is very underrated, and definitely worth a better to go back and watch. In fact, all three of these movies are just gold. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, if you have anybody, nieces and nephews, I have a couple of nephews. Get these three movies for your kids. They're very well done. They're very true to the Narnia books. There's a few little niggling things. One of our favorite all-time lines about Aslan not being a tame lion is kind of like mishandled a little bit. My brother hated that, but all three of these movies are just very good. Get them if you have children. Get them. But anyway, so this is a scene from Voyage of the Dawn Treader that I really enjoyed, and it's just like the book. I mean, just like the book.
People who read fairy tales are always the sort that become a hideous burden to people like me, who read books of real information.
Hideous burden? I haven't seen you lift a finger since we've been here. I have a right mind to tell your father it was you who stole Aunt Alberta's sweets.
Liar.
Oh, really?
Edmund, the painting.
I found them under your bed. And you know what? I licked every one of them.
Ooh, I'm infected with you! What's going on here?
Lucy, do you think...
It's some kind of trick. Stop it or I'll tell Mother! 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 I'll just smash the wrong thing. No, no! No! Let go!
My favorite Narnia door scene out of all the books is the painting in the room. That young actor was Will Poulter. Will Poulter. He's kind of become a pretty decently sized actor in films now. He was in the I think he was played Adam's Warlock in the last Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's done multiple pretty large roles. He's a very talented young man, but he was perfect, perfectly cast as Eustace. He just had that persnickety little butt head kind of thing going on, and his character transformation that happens during the course of that is just really, really good. And Skander Keynes, who played Edmund, has always just been pitch perfect. He's always been perfect Edmund. But anyway, but they never got to Silverchair. That's my biggest disappointment, is because Dawn Treader didn't do good enough that they made Silverchair the Silverchair. And we never got a Puddle Glum out of that series. That's for, I mean, if they made that one movie more, they made that one more movie, and Silverchair wouldn't have been as expensive as the other previous three movies. And it just, if we gotten that quadrilogy, we've got that fourth movie. I really, that's my biggest disappointment out of the whole thing, because Puddle Glum was my favorite character out of all Narnia books, outside of Aslan. Of course, Aslan's my favorite, but I love Puddle Glum. And so in this particular scene, they were trying to rescue Prince Rillian, who's Caspian's son, who was kidnapped by the woman of the green kirtle, who turns out to be another witch. And she basically destroyed the silver chair, which is like what's holding keeping Prince Rillian captive. And she shows up and she starts strumming an instrument and telling them that Narnia never existed. Narnia was all a dream, Down here is the only thing that matters. And she starts screwing with their minds. And the only one who's able to break free is Puddleglum. And his reasoning is just, it sums up what music and art and everything means to everybody, why it matters.
There is no sun.
There is no sun.
There never was a sun.
There never was a sun. There's Aslan.
Aslan. What a pretty name. Forget all these childish things. Face life here in this real world. Your life henceforth is to be here with me. You will do my work now. To bed with you. To sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
Aslan! Aslan!
What are you doing, mudfilth? Dare to touch my fire again, and I'll turn the blood to flames within thy veins!
Madam, there is one thing to say. Suppose we have only dreamed and made up these things, like sun, sky, stars, and moon, and Aslan himself. In that case, it seems to me that the made-up things are a good deal better than the real ones. And if this black pit of a kingdom is the best you can make, then it's a poor world. And we four can make a dream world to lick your real one hollow.
How dare you threaten me?
One of the all-time best speeches. It just is. And you know what? When we see what Greta Gerwig's going to do to Narnia, we see what they're doing, what they're telling is art these days. And they're like, Star Wars never existed before Disney took it over. Star Trek was never good until Bad Robot took it over. All these things, it's just in your head. And stuff wasn't as good as you remember it. This new stuff, oh wow, like Acolyte, this is the best stuff. This stuff is so good. And the press is like, this is good, look, this is good. We're giving it high Rotten Tomatoes. We're giving it a high Rotten Tomatoes. You can trust all these critics, these critics who are and they're all confirmed as top critics. You can trust them. And this Predator Badlands is just the best Predator. Forget the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Forget that second one. With the Danny Glover. This is the best one. This is right here. It's the best one. Forget that all this other stuff existed. Forget that anything before the year 2010 existed. Forget all the comic books that came out beforehand, before that time, and just hang out, with this new stuff, man. Hang out with the race swaps, right? Hang out with the gender swaps, hang out with the LGBTQ plus whatever, shoved into everything. This is the new reality. This is the new reality. Forget all that other stuff that happened before. Just forget it. But what we'll say is, even if it didn't happen before, we can create something better than what you're giving us right now. We know we can. And even if the rest of it didn't happen before, even if it doesn't exist, even if it's all a figment of our imagination, and if we're remembering it wrong or better than it was, we can still create better than anything you're giving us now. And I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that any of us who love Narnia can come up with something better than whatever filth they're about to put out next year. And you're like, well, give it a chance. No, I don't have to. I just don't have to. And I don't choose to. Anyway, so that's wise words from Puddle Glum. And wise words from the bunny. Words to live by. Just never forget that if you watch something and it sucks, and you know it sucks, you know in your bones it sucks, and you know that it doesn't make sense, it's not canon, it's not anything that makes that pleases you, then make something better, because you can. You absolutely can. They're telling you all this is all there is. They're telling you, move on, just accept it, just enjoy it, just bring it into yourself, and take that messaging on board, and vote for who we tell you to, and take on the point of view and perspective that we tell you to. But you know what? Stick your hand in the fire, scream Aslan, and tell them no. Because I can do better, and I know I can. Anyway, thank you all for coming to the show tonight. I hope that you've been inspired in some way. Get the original Narnia books. There's a collected edition, which I have around here somewhere. I can't seem to locate it at the moment. I think I might have let somebody borrow it. But just enjoy the original books and get those 3 movies, and see if you can find the BBC series of they basically did an enactment of all the books, especially Silverchair, because Tom Baker as Puddle Glum, come on, inject that right into my veins. Anyway, thank you all for coming in. We will see you next time. Follow the White Rabbit.
Thank you.